Hello and welcome back. This is your hostess, Dana Lee, and tonight's episode is going to be a review of the great work by Miyamoto Musashi, The Book of Five Rings. I have found a condensed version of the synopsis of the book that breaks it down into 21 rules, and we will discuss each rule one by one. And then, as is usual, after I get done with the lesson, I will probably talk about Afghanistan tonight, at length, perhaps. But we shall see. "21 Rules to Live Your Life." Rule number 1: accept everything just the way it is. What does that mean? I think that it means that acceptance is the first line of submission to deity. Things are the way that they are because the gods will it to be that way. So we have to accept it. And do not mistake acceptance for acquiescence. And do not mistake acceptance for being a doormat in your own life. That's not what it means. It's like your dad doesn't understand the kind of person that you have grown up into being. And he will not give you quarter to be yourself, to put it charitably. You can have a relationship with your father, or you can walk away from him. Just remember, the Furies are watching you. Rule number 2. Excuse me. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. I think that one's pretty much self-explanatory. How many of the evils in the world right now wouldn't be there if people would just stop seeking pleasure for the sake of feeling good? Rule number 3. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. I would go a step further and say do not depend on a feeling for anything. Because it is just that. It's a feeling. it's coloring your logic, and therefore it's corrupting your perception. You don't need to suppress your feelings, but at the same time, you should not allow your feelings to rule your logic and your reason. That's the problem Antifa has. Rule number 4. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. What does that one mean? My personal opinion, I think that means that you shouldn't take yourself so seriously. And I know that's probably the hardest lesson that I have ever learned in my life, but you should not take yourself seriously. Because you're going to be duped some point in your life. You will be tricked. You will be lied to. You will be cheated on. You will be made to look a fool. And if you take yourself overly serious, the only response that you're going to have is going to be loud and violent. So don't take yourself too seriously. Thinking deeply on the world, do what you can to ease the burden and the suffering that you find around you. There's a lot of really bad things in the world right now. There are people, even here in the United States, that are hungry, that are desperate, and they're in need of a shield. And if you're in the position to provide a shield so that they can stand back up on their feet, get a little bit of this old Southern swagger back, so that they can take care of themselves, this you should do. 5. Be detached from desire your whole life long. I think that one's self-explanatory, but I'm going to explain it in my own special way anyway. Please forgive me, YouTube overlords. What I think this one means is, don't think with your dick or your pussy. Think with your brain. That's why the gods give you one. Don't go chasing ass simply for the sake of it. Because in this, there is no happy outcome. 6. Do not regret what you have done. Now this one I think says a lot. If you preserve your honor, act in a way that is with integrity and with ethics, then you will not regret your life. There might have been that left turn in Albuquerque that Bugs Bunny kept going on about, but there won't be any I should have done this better, or I should have said this, or I should have whatever. Do the right thing, and you can live a sound and happy life. Number 7, never be jealous. Notice how these things are piling up on the same kind of theme. Don't allow yourself to be in a situation where you can compromise your honor over somebody else. That goes back to not chasing ass, and that goes back to not depending on feelings and even thinking lightly of yourself. Because the only person that is ever jealous is the person that takes themselves and everything around them too damn seriously. Number 8. Never let yourself be saddened by a separation. This one, people come and go throughout life. There's nothing that we can do about it directly. Notice how stoicism kind of slots into a lot of these. Excuse me. Lovers lose interest. Friends have to leave to chase their rainbows. People leave you. People die. It's the nature of the mortal coil. Do not allow it to sadden you. Just remember that you got to walk alongside their empire for a while. Number 9. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither for oneself or others. Be happy in your chores. Basically what I'm getting out of that. You shouldn't bitch about what you're asked to do, because you never know. That ditch the boss asked you to dig might be the ditch that breaks a cavalry charge's legs. It might be the ditch that a truck can't get across, that forces the opponent into a bad situation. Or it might be the ditch that is going to be bringing you your water supply or your gas supply. So the ditch is important. We all have to dig our ditches. 10. Do not let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. Yeah, I kind of wound that one up into a couple of the other ones. But, yeah, again, don't chase ass. It never ends well. 11. In all things, have no preferences. This actually sounds like some kind of depressive shielding bullshit. But if you allow yourself to come to a point of enlightenment where you can sit on a rock and be hot and be happy, or you can sit on the rock and be cold and be happy, or you're just happy with life in general and everything's coming up you, not because other people will it, the gods have preordained it, but because your attitude has decided, fuck it, it's better to be happy than to be sad. And I just don't give a shit no more. That's a good way to be. 12. Be indifferent to where you live. Yeah, I could tell you a couple of stories about some places I lived as a kid where if your standards were set to the American high level, you'd probably have ran away from home. Let's see, 13. I'm sorry. Do not pursue the taste of good food. That's just your basically don't be a glutton kind of thing. I mean, food is meant to sustain you. It's meant to keep your body functioning. It's meant to be fuel. It's not meant to be anything more than that. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. Being a pack rat, while at certain points can be a good thing, maybe, it's not good to be trying to pack a lot of unnecessary items. If you can't see a use for it, don't keep it. But at the same time, please do not go to the extreme of minimalism. Because then you don't have anything to work with. 15. Do not act following customary beliefs. Basically, don't do what the hell they're expecting you to do. If they expect you to draw the gun, draw the Bowie knife. If they expect you to turn left, go right. And for the love of God, never go out of bed. Number 17. Do not fear death. What's more to say there? There's nothing to fear about dying. Because once you're dead, you won't give a shit anyway. Plus, you get the answer. Are we just worm food? Or is there something more to all this? 18. Do not seek to possess either goods or fiefs from your old age. For your old age. What's that mean? Well, straight up, it just means don't plan to get old. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi was what they called a strategist. He was a Ronin who traveled Japan. I believe they said in the late 15th century. And all he did throughout most of his life is test his blade and his technique against others. So his life expectancy wasn't very long. He could have died several hundred times. They sent gangs of people after him. He defeated them. They sent their best from their schools, and he defeated them. So only one person in the world can actually be the best. But then that also goes back to the do not hold on to anything that you no longer need. Number 18. Do not see. I'm sorry, we just did that one. Number 19. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. Yet another one that is quite self-explanatory. In the pagan sphere, we say that gods help them who help themselves. In the Christian sphere, we say God helps those who helps themselves. But first, you have to help yourself. Don't get down on your knees, praying, wailing, and gnashing of teeth, and expect the mountain to cry for you. It isn't going to happen. 20. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor. Once again, honor is everything. Without honor, integrity, and a reputation, there is nothing else in this world that matters. You can have a mountain of gold, you can have a ruby the size of your fist, and that does not make you wealthy. You can have the love of a good woman, but what does that love mean when you're cheating on her? Honor before all else. 21. Never stray from the way. To quote Musashi, you must research this well. An in-depth discussion of the way could quite possibly be a full series unto itself, and maybe even a full channel. So I'm not going to try to discuss what the way is. I am going to take a page from Musashi and tell you to figure it out for yourself. The enlightenment of the sword does not come from the warrior. It comes from his mind. Okay, so Afghanistan. This one's been boiling my blood cold all damn week. I don't have a script, so I guess I'm just going to go ahead and call this my little rant. What happened in Afghanistan was a travesty, a tragedy, and a disaster. I've been watching punditry on this on other channels all week from people who sound like they know more about what they're talking about than I do. And quite honestly, I have hated every word that they've had to say about this. I have fully supported the Afghanistan war from day one. In 2001, September 9th, I was sitting in a classroom being processed into Job Corps. We were going through some stale, yeah, you shall do this and you shall not do that, and this is where the dining room is, this is when you get to eat kind of stuff. And then suddenly, a large group of people starts crowding down the hallway, rolling TVs into every room and plugging them in and hooking up the cable. Then they turned on the news. And I have never seen a sight in my life that has pissed me off more and has stayed with me longer than the sight of Building 2 collapsing on itself after those scared, desperate people started jumping out of the fucking windows. I mean, I know a lot of the country now is so young that they don't remember seeing this. But it's one thing when you see somebody from a bunch of people from another country being killed en masse. It's quite another when you see your country happening to your countrymen. I mean, we had 200-story buildings pancake on themselves. I'm not going into conspiracy theories or any of that other crap. The news reported at the time that it was 19 men from Saudi Arabia trained in the terrorist camps of Afghanistan. So, we quite rightly, quite logically, sent the Marines in to kick their ass. And kick their ass they did. Our military drove them into the mountains and held them there in a just occupation. Because keep in mind, the Afghanistan war was 1 month. Start to finish, it was 1 month. And then we sent the army in to hold what we had conquered, which is the job of the army. Spec Ops, Marine Corps, goes in as the spear, does the fighting, Army comes rolling in behind them, holds the territory that they took. It is a very efficient way of maintaining an occupying force. Now, I know a lot of people are probably getting pissed off at me after what I just said. I honestly don't care. And don't give me that crap about Iraq where they keep saying that they never found weapons of mass destruction. Because they found caches and caches of mustard gas buried in the desert in Iraq. Mustard gas is a banned chemical agent which is considered an agent of mass destruction. So we did find weapons of mass destruction. Anybody that says otherwise is full of shit, and you probably should not be listening to them. But anyway, we held territory for 20 years. Kept the bad men away. And then we decide, hey, we've been here 20 years. It's time for us to step back. Let the Afghans military take over and do their job. We've spent a lot of money training them how to. I don't know about y'all, but I saw that clip that Tim Pool had up where they were doing jumping jacks. Son, I have seen kindergarten classes do better jumping jacks. And if you're expecting the people that can't even do side straddle hop in unison, how do you expect them to form up a battle line and fight as one? They're not going to. Pulling all the way out demoralized a already disorganized, dispirited group of people who did not learn esprit de corps and did not understand even the basics that we were trying to teach them. I'm sure you could probably find interviews with former operators and people who were doing the training that are going to say the exact same thing or something similar. Anyway, what is the number one rule when you're pulling out under duress? Destroy all the classified material. Destroy any equipment that you cannot easily transport. Destroy the buildings that you were using. Do not leave anything to give the enemy any form of aid or comfort. This means burn the crops, kill the livestock as you're falling back. This is simple art of war thinking. What our illustrious Mr. President did was the exact opposite. Instead of leaving nothing, he left everything, including classified materials, including operational weapons, including cutting edge fighter craft, cutting edge small arms, the best tech that money can buy, tech that came out of our pockets at multiple stages, from R&D on up. Everybody's going, it's all falling into China's hands. More of it's going to wind up in Iran's hands. And while we're on the subject of Iran and China, I walked in the living room and my dad was looking at this graphic that showed the kinds of minerals that were left in the ground in Afghanistan for the pleasure and use of the Afghani army, or I should say the Taliban. These include two that have me completely scared shitless on a very deep fundamental level. Thorium and cobalt. If you've never heard of a thorium cobalt device, go ahead, open your search engine of choice, look it up. Thorium cobalt devices make atom bombs and everything else in the US, Russian, and Chinese arsenals look like Tinker Toys. Something you would give to your baby to play with. And it's in the hands of extremists. Mark my words. 5, 10 years down the road, we will be back in Afghanistan. Just like we had to go back to Iraq. Because we left the front porch dirty. So we're going to have to go sweep it off. And you can put that one in the bank. Anyway, this video is running rather long as it is, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you for listening to me rant. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. And remember, Book of Five Rings rocks. If you haven't watched the other my full-length audiobook version of it, please do so. And I will talk to you again too long, my friend. Good night, and may the goddess walk with you.